Hello, bonsoir, and welcome to the Get French Football News Show. I'm your host, Nathan Staples, and joining me this week, as always, are Eric Devin and Philippe Bargil. Another week of French football saw the final side in Europe crash out, a club put up for sale, and a world-class striker omitted from the national team for squad harmony reasons. I hope you're ready for a very spicy episode, but before we start that fire, here is this week's news. Ligue 1's fixture computer had seen the week's biggest game come on Friday evening rather than Sunday, and despite an early dismissal for Maxwell Cornet, Nice's visit to Lyon was still a thrilling match. Saint-Germain's opener was cancelled out late on as Alexandre Lacazette turned in a rebound for a 1-1 draw. That keeps the hosts in the Champions League places. Saturday's early match saw a frustrated Paris Saint-Germain release their energy on visiting Caen, the champions warming up for this weekend's Coupe de la Ligue final with a 6-0 win. Zlatan Ibrahimovic with 2 goals and 2 assists. In the multiplex, the relegation picture was further muddied with Troyes securing a shock win at home to Reims 2-1, while Zago Touré's equaliser at the death saw Toulouse denied a vital 3 points at Lyon, Les Merlus earning a 1-1 draw. Despite their opponents' stumbles, Gazélec Ajaccio were unable to steal a march, losing 4-2 at home to Lille, thanks to a Sofiane Boufal hat-trick, a result which saw the visitors into 6th ahead of Rennes. Angers won 3-1 at Bordeaux, while a resolute Saint-Etienne defeated Bastia 1-0, earning their 4th consecutive win and 4th consecutive clean sheet. The return of Loic Perrin in that time perhaps being no coincidence. On Sunday, a disinterested Nantes may have allowed Montpellier another year's stay in Ligue 1. The visitors put 2-0 win, pulling them 6 points clear of the drop, while Guingamp's trip to Rennes saw their own relegation worries all but disappear, Thibaut Guéret's assisting all 3 goals in a 3-0 victory. Sunday's late match saw a scoreless draw for the better part of an hour before host Monaco notched a pair of goals at the Stade Louis II. Michy Batshuayi's injury time strike only a consolation as the hosts moved 2 points clear in second with that 2-1 win. In Ligue 2, Nancy emphatically showed their gulf in class between the top 2 and those chasing third, thumping hosts Le Havre 3-1. The visitors now just need 3 more points to seal promotion to Ligue 1. There's several teams still giving chase, though, as wins by Metz and Lens saw the pair move into 3rd and 4th respectively, whilst Le Havre and Red Star remain level on points with the Northern club, setting a stage for a potentially massive match on week 38 as Metz travel to Lens. And that's all your news. If you want to keep up to date with the latest as they happen, head on over to our website at www.getfootballnewsfrance.com and follow us on Twitter at GFFN. We start this week with Paris Saint-Germain, and their European hopes fell at the quarter-finals hurdle again as Manchester City won 1-0 at the Etihad Stadium in midweek, sealing a 3-2 win on aggregate. Philip, how disappointing was the game and the result for the Ligue 1 champions?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't good, wasn't it? It wasn't a good game to watch particularly. You were expecting a better game from PSG in the first leg, and as a result, you got a worse one. Vlo could be to blame for starting with a 3-5-2, a formation he's never ever used for PSG, or he's probably played a 4-4-2 a couple of times to say to Cavani, hey, I can play you as in an attacking role, not on the wing a couple of times, but you still don't come up with the goods. But this was wrong. This was wrong. Now, I admire Audacity on the whole. I think it's good that he had the bottle to do it, and if it comes off, he's a genius. But he was against Pellegrini. Pellegrini had a great game plan, which was a bit catenaccio, but not that much really. I didn't feel that Manchester City side without Yaya Touré, without Company, I didn't see them so threatened after all. They just had a very simple very simple game plan. They had the penalties. They missed the penalties by Aguero, and it just didn't go. Now at halftime 1-0, actually Mota was injured, and that actually forced Blanc to make the substitution. Mota replaced by I think it was Pastore, wasn't it? Maybe it's somebody else. And
Lucas came on for
it was
Mata.
Lucas. Thank you. It was Lucas. In a way, it's a good thing, because I'm not even sure Blanc would have resorted to 4-3 back to 4-3-3. So before half time, but I was fully expecting him to do so until the substitutes. Now a lot of experts have been saying the same thing, and they've been saying it's okay to try something new. Probably not during such a massive game as this one, but it's good. It shows you are capable, you are willing to do stuff. But it's also very, very important, vital as well, to acknowledge when you've done the wrong thing from a tactical point of view. Something really big managers cannot. Some of the managers, they can't really admit it when they're wrong. And Blanc just didn't do that. He just waited for the first half to endure, and then came the injury to Mota. So he was in a way forced to go back to 4-3-3. But I was actually really hopeful that the reversal back to 4-3-3 would work, because we saw that PSG were doing better. And then Pastore came into the game, and we saw a bit more, passing in dangerous positions and stuff like that. And it just didn't work. I'm not quite sure why, but the players just did not respond. And then De Bruyne scored the winning goal, and PSG can have no complaints. I mean, it's a completely deserved win. PSG did nothing all game. Most of the key players did not perform. Yes, they were absentees. And with a full squad, maybe PSG would have progressed, but PSG still should have won the first leg, and probably should have had a better result to take to Manchester. But they didn't. It finished 2-2. It didn't finish 2-1 like against Chelsea, and Manchester City were not forced to attack. They could stay with a 0-0 draw. And they had the personnel. Pellegrini, kudos to Pellegrini. So, well done, City, PSG. See you next year. Probably at the same stage.
Eric, let's talk about that decision to go with the 3-5-2 to begin with. I think Philip made an excellent point that managers that do that and win seem like tactical geniuses, but if you lose in those situations where you've never tried that, it seems like a boneheaded decision. It was the wrong idea for Blanc, really, and was it the wrong time to try and employ something like that?
So, okay, I don't think that it was necessarily the wrong decision. I can see why he was doing it. It was to afford more protection to Thiago Motta by having Di Maria and Adrien Rabiot sit a little bit deeper and be a little bit more compact to clog space in the middle of the field, and also allow an extra defender to track the runs of De Bruyne and Silva, and Navas and Aguero when he dropped deep. So it made sense in terms of allowing PSG a little bit more protection in midfield. The fact was that if City were to score a goal, PSG would need to score two, thereby heightening the onus on the team. So I can understand why Blanc was going with a more cautious approach. He didn't want to concede an early goal. I get it. But the fact of the matter is that this formation probably could have worked were the personnel thought of a little bit differently. I think that in particular, playing Aurier as one of the defenders didn't make a lot of sense. What I think I probably would have done were to use the 3-5-2 were to have dropped Thiago Motta into defense, started Stambouli, and then played Kurzawa and Aurier as the wing backs instead of Maxwell and Vanderveer. Both are very direct and pacey, and could really get at City's fullbacks and really test them, something that we hadn't seen in the first leg. that would also allow uh, either Lucas, two of three from Lucas, Di Maria, and Rabiot to start in midfield to give a little more thrust in attack and give Cavani and Ibrahimovic a little bit more service. So I don't necessarily disagree with playing 3-5-2 in general because I can see what Blanc is trying to do. I do think, though, that the personnel that he used in that regard was what he got wrong. Thiago Matta's played at center back on multiple occasions, and I think he would have been fine doing that. But again, being played in that defensive midfield role, he was simply too stretched, even with the extra protection. And his injury forced Blanc to reshuffle again. And it just looked like a manager who was frankly gasping at straws, switching Marquinhos and Aurier on both flanks, just restricting Rabiot and Di Maria in terms of their involvement going forward. It just didn't seem like he had really thought out this formation beyond 3-5-2 will make us a little bit more solid at the back. He really needed to parse this a little bit more and think about how the team would be facilitated going forward. I mean, Ibrahimovic and Cavani cut very isolated figures. If Lucas and Pastore and Di Maria are your three best creative players, you need to have two of them on the pitch from the start. Even though Lucas did come on and Pastore did as well, this is a must-win match. It literally is the biggest match of your season. If you've got the level of fitness that'll allow those two to play the amount of time that they did, why aren't they included from the off, or why aren't they included earlier on in the match as it becomes more apparent that City are sitting deeper and deeper, which they did as the match progressed. If you look at points later in the second half, I mean, Jesus Navas in particular is almost acting as an auxiliary right back. PSG or City are basically playing 5 or 6 at the back. They're really, really sitting deep and inviting PSG to come onto them, but because they lacked the keys to unlock that, because Di Maria was sitting so deep, there wasn't really the opportunity for PSG to do that, to break and run at them with pace, because the players to whom the ball is coming to, that is Ibrahimovic and Cavani, don't have the speed to come at City in that way. And there were a few chances on balls over the top, but the quality from those two just wasn't there, aside from the free kicks that Ibrahimovic had. So, it was just a really frustrating evening overall, and I don't really see what Blanc was getting at with this. It just if he loses his job over this, I have to say I don't think it would be poorly deserved, which is a disappointment, given how I think the team had looked a lot better, frankly, particularly against Real Madrid in the group stages this season. It seemed like PSG had actually maybe really turned a corner. But now seeing this, I understand again his hand was forced with the suspensions of Matuidi and Luiz, but still, it's just a really shocking way to set out a stall from this manager, and it's frustrating for French football, and it's frustrating for the potential of this team, given how good they'd looked earlier in this competition.
Yeah, and you mentioned there that Di Maria has been saddled in the middle and held back a little bit, and having your most creative player stuck in that role in the swamp that was the centre of the midfield of the game, as it was such a narrow game at times, it really affected them. I mean, I'm looking at Zlatan Ibrahimovic's touch map at the moment on the BBC website, and he has one touch in the box all game. I think that tells you the story of what happened, is that their most important player had to come to those central areas to even get the ball at any stage of the game. And that's where you would say, at least bodies-wise, Man City have the strength. I mean, their best player on the night, unsurprisingly, and the best player in those central areas is De Bruyne. And that's where Man City had the advantage. That's where they got the goal from. And PSG never really stretched the game enough to cause City problems. I don't think there was any real danger from them again. But looking back again, Philip, at that game, who really disappointed for PSG? Who didn't quite give the effort that was needed in this kind of game?
I'm actually looking at Eric's article on outside of the booth. His what's it called? A picture of the pitch is how the PSG player are depicted and up against the Manchester City player. You just see that there really is not that big difficulty for Manchester City to defend against this unit, because you have to, when you're playing a 3-5-2, you have to know how to play a 3-5-2. I don't think Blanc knows how to do that. I think Conte would have managed something like that. But I do believe that not only I don't think it was necessary, it was also actually playing into Pellegrini's hands, because the players looked a bit lost without the ball. And they didn't have. I didn't feel they had that much possession. Even if they did, they didn't do that much with it. Who played badly? I'd say pretty much everyone, aside from Thiago Silva. I thought Van der Veer was not too bad. I think Maxwell was not too bad either. Thiago Motta is too slow for this level. He needs to either be sold or not ever not play at this level of football again. He's just too old. Rabiot was alright, I thought. It wasn't too bad. Cavani was being himself. Zlatan was. You can't really blame Zlatan for not being too good, shall we say? But he did very hard from the free kicks. It was actually PSG's sole attempt on goal. Yeah. Most of them. The main culprit, I would say, Aurier for the horrible back passes, and Di Maria. I think Di Maria was really poor. Something needs to be said, and really needs, the communication has really not been good about Aurier there. Aurier comes out, he insults Blanc, and it almost seems like Nasser El Khelaifi is forcing Blanc to play him, as Blanc doesn't really want him there. As everybody is saying, he's the best right back, but the best right back has insulted you, and he's not fan favourite anymore. He has to gain the fans' trust back, and that's by playing a few games in the reserves, as by playing a few games in Liga. For example, last weekend against Guingamp, the games against Caen, he should be playing those games. He shouldn't be. He's almost rewarded for not being injured and stuff like that. And I think it's extremely weak management from Blanc. This is something that has gone a bit under the radar. But he was far and away the worst performer over the two legs. And for one thing, the equaliser of Manchester City is down to him. The penalty is mainly down to him because he lost the ball. So I would say these two are my big culprits, Aurier and Di Maria. I thought Thiago Silva was wonderful at centre back again. And yeah, that's it. The others you don't really expect them to shine that much. So yeah.
Well, Philip, I mean, you don't expect Ibrahimovic and Cavani to sign. Look at the fees paid for them. Look at the wages they're on.
No, I know. I meant that in Zlatan, because he was so up top against such a shit midfield, and if against with a shit midfield, I think Zlatan, I think Di Maria would be the culprit for Zlatan, but when Zlatan had a chance, his free kicks were well taken. It was okay. It's not a 2 out of 10 for me. It's not great.
What about Cavani?
Cavani was just himself. I mean, just. And I've stopped expecting much from him ages ago, really. And sometimes
Cavani was being put into the positions, though. There was a ball over the top. I can't remember if it was from Lucas or Pastore before City had scored, and he had 3 touches, and before you know it, Hart's out there to get the ball off him, and just chip it over him. I don't understand how he's got such a poor touch. He's being played out into the flat. Sonya's gone up the wing. He's in space, and he's in a great position to have a shot, but he trips over his own feet basically, and Hart's out to cover things up.
Yeah, but if you watch him every week, that's just what he does. He's just not not a good finisher anymore. He's just his touch is a bit heavy, and I don't. He's not to be relied upon for that type of chances. I don't think. I mean, he comes with the goods. He fights very well, but that's about it. I'm not really disappointed in him in a way that I don't expect much of him.
Well, I'm going to make a maybe slightly odd statement here, but it does remind me at least a little bit of Radamel Falcao's form at Manchester United. The way that Cavani's playing at the moment. I mean, he's
It's not
got.
that bad.
Yeah, but it's getting there. That's the thing. I mean, he's been given enough chances to play in that up front role, and he's missing chances. He's missing clear chances, and good opportunities.
But has he? I mean, he's not been played as a striker. I feel like when Cavani has been played as a striker, a central striker by PSG in the absence of Ibrahimovic, as he was particularly in the group stages of the Champions last season, he has done all right. Do I think he's of the caliber needed to win the Champions League as a center forward? No. But I do think he's better than what he's been showed being played on the left of a 4-3-3 or up top with Ibrahimovic. I don't think that. I just don't think he should be used in a 4-3-3.
But that's the issue, isn't it? I think playing him at all in these kind of games, like you've mentioned before, Eric, is the problem. But how do PSG move forward from this result heading into next season, Eric? How do they look towards changing something about this to get further in the competition?
Well, I mean, let's look at this. The team is still, Thiago Motta and Ibrahimovic aside, still relatively young. Cavani, if they keep him, is 29 in the summer, I want to say. So he's still a relatively young player. If they can move him on and get some sort of fee for him, a move for Cristiano Ronaldo or Neymar has been mooted. I could see either one of them doing a good job if they continue to play 4-3-3. But if they don't keep Cavani, that would leave them in need of an out-and-out striker, unless they were to convert Ronaldo to that. But I think that, beyond transfer speculation, because that's not necessarily going to help get to the root of what's the issue. I think they should move to replace either Ibrahimovic, Cavani, or both, and bring in a more mobile and a more active striker. Maybe it could be Alexander Lacazette. Even as a Lyon fan, I'd hate to see that happen, but I think he's the type of player who could work very, very well in that role. Maybe a Robert Lewandowski, someone like that, and to make the team be consistent throughout. Because what you've got with that team is a good mobile midfield, and a good, especially as Kurzawa develops to replace Maxwell, good attacking fullbacks. They're both able to run with the ball. So there's a lot of energy and a lot of thrust in midfield. Rabiot, Di Maria, the same type of player, a very high energy game when they're at their best. And to have the team be of a piece, because I feel like that's been the issue, is that yes, Ibrahimovic is fantastic and has these great qualities. He's scored a massive amount of goals in the league, but the fact of the matter is that sometimes, because he and Cavani have this lack of pace, this lack of movement, this lack of energy, and it's not for a lack of trying, particularly on Cavani's part. Cavani does get about the pitch, but he's just not. Doesn't seem to be as synchronous with the rest of the players as perhaps a more mobile striker would be. So if you could have a more fluid attack throughout the team, I think I would hold faith in most of what PSG have, and just try to create something that's a little bit more contemporary, something along the lines of a Barcelona, or even the type of a 4-3-3 that Real Madrid play, with players in a bit more of a fluid role, and that they would have a higher level of success. Pardon me.
And thinking about mobile strikers, someone that's been touted to a number of clubs in Europe that would fit that role and knows French football, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. That might be someone that they think about signing if they can prize him from Dortmund. That would be. But
I've been wanting him for years. He can be centre forward and winger. He's perfect.
Yeah, he would be. He's a terrific player. Let's put it that way. I've enjoyed watching him for many years. But Philip, just to coattail this, there is talk that this could see Laurent Blanc fired. I know you've written a piece about it this week. What do you think?
I think PSG need to be very careful. I'm not saying Blanc is perfect, but I think there are very few managers out there who have the same type of, the same profile and the same patience. Moreover, because I think there's a real lack of a distinct lack of managers who are willing to be managers for the Bayern, the Barcelonas, and the Real Madrid, then this and that. Mourinho has fallen out of this category for getting sacked at basically all the jobs he's had. And this leaves us with Ancelotti, who's very good, and who PSG had, and we're very happy to have actually. But when the real big boys come and calling, this is just to show that PSG aren't there yet, and why should they? I mean, they've only had a couple of years of superstardom. You've got Guardiola, who is now off to Manchester City. They'll probably be harder to beat next season. So I think that PSG are a bit like the Bayern Munich of France, and I do think that PSG are a side that is expected to go very, very far in the Champions League. At the end of the day, it's a bit of a toss coin whether you're going to win it or not, because it really wasn't that, shall we say, straightforward, that City qualification, even though PSG did not play well. But is there a manager who would accept to play against a mediocre side every week of the domestic season, and then play in the Champions League for real, and he'll be valued just for winning the Champions League? Now, I don't think there is. I don't think Mourinho is the type of guy who will be happy to do that. He'll probably be happy to do that for a couple of seasons, just like Blanc, and then he'll move on. They'll say, okay, I've had it with you. I'm going to I don't know, Manchester United or something. But I just don't see long term. I don't see a natural replacement for Blanc aside from Deschamps. I can see Deschamps at PSG. But that's about it. I don't see Guardiola at PSG. I don't see Mourinho at PSG. Ancelotti for return. Why not? Yeah, maybe in a couple of years. I don't know. I just don't see anyone. And I think the Qataris need to be very careful if they do sack Blanc.
What about Pellegrini?
No, thank you.
That's an interesting one.
No, I mean I believe that this guy is a tactical genius. He knows what he's doing. He knew exactly what he was doing in the first leg. He knew exactly what he was doing in the second leg, and you could always feel that Pellegrini said, "Really, you're going to play a 3-5-2 against me? You're dead." And well, we were. But it's to me the management is too weak, and I don't think I would enjoy, so to speak. I really don't think I would enjoy Pellegrini as PSG manager.
And just a thought, he's done very, very well in this competition over the years with Malaga, and with prior spells with Spanish teams as well. I think that with other Spanish teams as well. He's someone I think I would appreciate, but. For me, I think that Blanc should be given another season's reprieve. Had he had Luiz, had he had Matuidi, that match could have looked. Had he had Verratti, I mean, to lose 3 players of that class and to still make a fist of that tie, I think is, it shows testament to the PSG. We shouldn't be ringing the alarm bells quite yet. I think there's still a lot to be said for the current squad, bar the aforementioned strikers, and I think that. I think that Blanc's done well too. I mean, Rabiot in particular, I think is a really a shining example of how he's continued to push the envelope and develop this team in a way that's approaching sustainability. Taking this young French player he's sort of an afterthought in the previous few seasons, but now he's being used on the biggest stages, being used in crucial matches, and the player that Rabiot is now for me versus the player that he was. I'm thinking about that opening match against Lille where he received 2 bookings in the first half hour and was sent off. That's not the sort of mindless, full of energy but maybe perhaps lacking in quality and thoughtfulness that we have at present. We have a really impressively maturing young footballer, and I think that Blanc needs to be given a good amount of credit for that. I don't know about his handling of the Aurier situation. I do have my doubts about that, but despite the frustrations, there's a lot of good to be had with the work that Blanc has done, and in particular managing the cast of egos that he has in terms of Thiago Silva and Zlatan Ibrahimovic in particular.
It promises to be an interesting summer anyway, which way you put it at Paris Saint-Germain, as we head to see what they will do next season. We will move on now to Marseille, who are up for sale. The owner, Margarita Louis-Dreyfus, has decided to find new investment, saying in a statement that she would look for a new buyer who will build a team at the highest level and have the team's best interests at heart. Is this the right move, Philip?
Oh yeah. No, you definitely have to think so. Otherwise, the club is heading straight to Ligue 2. They're really not that far from the relegation zone now, playing absolutely horrible football. Again, last night at Monaco, actually made a poll about whether Marseille were going to score again this season, but then Michy Batshuayi scored. Another absolutely toothless performance. Very, very, very poor. And I do believe that Mandanda is really starting to question whether what is he doing here. I mean, yes, it's a massive club, it's the biggest club in the land, but still, the level is just so poor, and someone needs to come in quickly and to ensure that Marseille finish at least in the top half in 2016-17. And the good news is Margarita doesn't really mind if she's losing her money on it, because I think she's had really enough. She really sounds fed up with the club. She really sounds like, okay, I've had it. People are insulting me. People are being sexist while at the games. It's I think she's had it. She wants to sell and say good riddance and good luck to the person who's going to buy it. Now I think with a decent amount of money, you can make great things with Marseille. And I think there's an expiry. I hope that as a club will make a decent study of the bids and buy an owner who actually has money, not just who says he has some. It really is vital for French football as well. It really is very, very important for French football that Marseille achieve a good takeover. It really is very important.
Yeah, and find the right owner it's good to hear that she's waiting to find the right person to take over, really, rather than rushing a sale. But saying that, obviously, an ideal scenario, Eric, would be an oil-rich tycoon coming in, pumping loads of money. But in any case, it can't linger on for too long, waiting for a buyer, can it? It could continue to adversely affect a team that's not doing well in the first place.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely correct. I think that this is a huge. I think that there is, though, for me, a lot of potential for progress here. I think that, I know Mandanda's going to go, but they've got a good young keeper in Bryce Samba waiting in the wings. Michy Batshuayi is going to go. I think that this team should be remade into. Nicolas Nkoulou is going to go too, into a really exciting, high-pressing, counter-attacking young team. I like Kevin Nkoudou potentially moving to striker. I like Bouna Sarr as a wide player, and I like a high-pressing, high-intensity midfield as well. So I think there's a lot of potential with the current squad, but the fact of the matter is that the reason this team has stagnated, particularly this season, is that they're still trying to play, again, with some wrinkles. I mean, obviously the addition of Diarra makes a difference in one example. But the issue is they aren't taking the opportunity to. They're trying to play the same style of football that they played last year without the same players. I mean, Dimitri Payet, Andre Pierre-Gignac in particular, there's just not the same level of quality there to play that same style of upfront attacking football that pardon me, we saw last season from Marcelo Bielsa. And the fact of the matter is that, without a manager that really understands the league and understands how to get the best out of these players, they've always been poor, and it's just a lot of problems, and it's sad for me to see. Thinking back to where Marseille were, 5-6 years ago, consistently in the Champions League, consistently in the knockout rounds of the Champions League, to see that team reduced to what we have now, through poor financial planning and through a lack of ability to have a consistent, coherent managerial strategy from one manager to the next, and to lack of ability to maintain the services of Bielsa. It's just a myriad of missteps for this club, and it's really frustrating to see that happening to a club who should be, by all rights, one of France's consistently strong sides, up there with PSG, with Lyon, with Monaco.
Yeah, and you talk about that mismanagement there. I mean, we've seen it a number of times in the last season or two of players they could quite easily get a good figure for, even if it's 5-10 million, because they've got a year left on their contract. They're letting these players leave on freeze. It's at least a positive sign that they've signed Michy Batshuayi to a contract, which will mean they'll probably get good money for him in the summer from someone. But it's that mismanagement that's really crippled them in terms of the quality they have. They've not been able to bring out in the caliber of players to replace them because they don't have that money, and the owner can't keep pumping money into a team that's not delivering any money back. And it's been that endless cycle that's slowly, as we've seen them last night, you mentioned, Philip, they were dreadful again. And now they're 6 points off the bottom three. I mean, could they be relegated, Philip?
Oh yeah, I believe that Montpellier and Guingamp will probably finish above them, which means that Marseille will finish 16th, which is horrible. They've been horrible against Bordeaux. This is why the game against Bordeaux last Sunday, not last night, but the week before that, was the worst game probably of the season, because Marseille did not have the potential up front, and they couldn't beat the goalkeeper. And as bad as Marseille's defense is, it is quite hard to score a goal against Steve Mandanda because he is a world-class goalkeeper. But Monaco have the players that can beat them, and we saw with Bernardo Silva last night. It was a very good goal, long range, no problem. And when I asked the question, are they going to score again? It's not me just being anti-Marseille. It's me asking a genuine question, saying they are so poor going forward. Can they score a goal? And if you can't score a goal, you're going to get four draws of the remaining 4 games, which is 44 points. Some sides have gone down with that, and that's also a case of Marseille having to play Reims and Troyes at the very end of the season. Of course, it's an extreme long shot. First of all, Toulouse have to get above Gazélec and Reims, and I do believe Toulouse are the side who are the more motivated to stay up. And realistically speaking, I do not believe Marseille will go down. I think there'll be a win somewhere down the line, but Marseille will not finish above 13th, which is pretty bad. But I think it's probably a necessary evil, to be honest, because that really shows that the club have sold all their players, and that the management is just one of carelessness. La Bruyne is getting absolutely killed on social media as well. He needs to go as well. His handling of the Bielsa fiasco was absolutely horrible. And once a new owner comes in, I think there'll be a sense of optimism. There'll be absolutely everything. They'll probably be able to get a decent manager. No offense to Michel. Everything will go better. So I think Marseille finishing in a very low position, but not going down. Otherwise, that would really probably not kill the club. I think this club will always be able to live. It will be like I said, a necessary evil. Plus, they are hosting Not next week. Not who are on, was it three straight defeats and 1 win in 7, and they're very far away from home. So Marseille could win at the Vélodrome actually. That's a really long shot as well.
Yeah. Well, Eric, I know I've already mentioned could they get relegated, but the fact that we're talking about Marseille in this context is a statement enough of itself, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that, come on, we're in first place for most of the first half of last season, and again slipped towards the end. Some of the players tired as a result of Bielsa's tactics. They had to deal with some injuries as well, but I mean, that's where the club should be. I'm not saying that with the money that PSG have, they should be challenging for the title, but the fact of the matter is, this team, look at their resources compared to that of a Rennes, of a Saint-Etienne, of some of the other teams that are of a Lille. Again, Lille's in a big stadium, has a decent fan base, but they're not Marseille. I mean, Marseille are still the best supported team in France, and the fact that this is, again, even in the cards is simply ludicrous.
Yeah, there's plenty of fans for that club, and there's plenty of them that will tell you that it's completely unacceptable for them to be in that position. And let's hope that something happens sooner rather than later that can mean that they are much better next season. We move on to the real quality game of the weekend that happened on Friday night that saw Lyon come back from a red card and a goal down to draw 1-1 with Nice. How vital was it for Bruno Genesio's side, Eric, not to lose this one in the end?
Oh, it was huge, and it showed great character from the team. Toliso's coming back into the side. Valbuena showing what he can do, and now I think that we've got to look at there being a very interesting choice for Genesio to make over the next 3 matches. Again, with a straight red card, Maxwell Cornet is suspended for the next 3 matches, I believe, pending a disciplinary hearing on Thursday. But does he go with Fekir? Does he go with Valbuena? Does he change the system slightly? There's a lot of interest to be had over what's going to happen with this team over the next month. I still make them favorites to finish in the Champions League spots, but how Genesio resolves things tactically and personnel-wise is going to be really interesting. But again, credit to Lyon. They showed an incredible battling spirit. Even as Nice continued to have chances, Anthony Lopez had a fantastic match. That I think that they've shown they've got the will and the drive to continue to push on and make a return to the Champions League. Just seeing how Lacazette celebrated, pardon me, that equalizer. This is a player who is, after an indifferent first half to the season, is fully invested in this club, and is going to do what's necessary to drag this team over the line. And it looks like his teammates are doing the same thing.
He's not having that bad a season, is he? 17 goals is a good return for him. For someone.
Where was he at in December?
Sorry?
Where was Lacazette's form in December? Is what I'm saying. I think he scored 11 of those since Genesio took over.
What's your take on Genesio? It's been a half season almost. So I think he's done a terrific job because Fournier was still trying his 4-3-1-2 in the first half of the season. Yes, he was not helped by the injury to Fekir, but I think Genesio has done a terrific job since coming in, and that even though Monaco did take back that second spot last night, I do believe that you will finish second, which is probably what Genesio's target was.
Oh, who would have? I would not have thought that Lyon would have been favorites for second when Genesio took over.
Yeah, I know you were more pessimistic than me.
Well, he wasn't a manager with any meaningful experience as a head coach, and but he's shown again, like Remy Gard did 4 years ago, what intimate knowledge of this incredible academy can do for the team, and bringing along the likes of Cornet and Ghazal, And as well as continuing to develop the likes of Corentin Tolisso, Jordan Ferry, who I think has had a really unsung season. And he's getting the best out of Sergei Darder as well. I mean, Darder was also sort of a player who had a fairly undistinguished first half of the season. And again, he arrived very late in the transfer window. He's struggling as a young player with adjusting to a new language, certainly a different climate, going from beautiful sunny Malaga to Leon, which is a lovely city, but I think the winters there are quite a little bit different than on the south coast of Spain. So I think a massive credit to Genesio for continuing the development of these players, for showing again that Lacazette's performance last season was not just the result of of a system built to suit him, and Nabil Fekir, but that he can be a tremendous player in a different iteration of an attacking formation, and I think Genesio fully deserves to continue with this team, especially if he gets second place. I think that it would really do the team a disservice to do that, because there seems to be also an incredible amount of unity. I think the departure of Claudio Bovu may have a good deal to do with that aspect of things as well. But the fact that Genesio has got these players pulling together for each other, working hard for each other, both on the pitch, is really a credit to not only his tactical nous, but his managerial abilities, his man management. So yeah, I think a fantastic job has been done by Genesio to date, and he deserves to continue.
Speaking of tacticals, I thought it was a very bold move, because I'm talking about Friday evening. Kone gets sent off. I think it's a right decision. I don't think it's that controversial.
No.
But what Genesio does, he goes 4-2-3, which is great. I mean, it's amazing to see that he has this kind of adventure about him. He could just go, okay, we're going 4-4-1, just like any side that is reduced to 10 men.
But they were already down a goal, and then
Exactly.
win would have
some managers, I know most Liga managers would say, oh well, let's try not to lose too heavily. But what he did is that he said, okay, not too many guys in midfield, let's put them under pressure, which they did. I mean, Lyon had a tremendous second half, aside from the break from the newspaper crisis.
Yeah, I know.
That was real funny.
Yeah, Liga fans. But yeah. No, I agree with you completely, Philip, and that does take a huge amount of chutzpah, if you will, to do that. Literally, if that result is Nice's, then Nice are in the driver's seat with a more comfortable run-in, as opposed to Lyon, who still, don't forget, have Monaco to play in 2 weeks' time.
And it really, because I honestly thought that he was there for a stopgap. He was there because Fournier had lost the dressing room. It was not going well. Finished bottom of your Champions League group. You're playing terribly. You're mid-table in the league, whereas you really should be in the Champions League spots, etc., etc. But I would be actually surprised if Genesio is not your manager in August. I mean, he will. I believe he will be given the opportunity to be the first team coach for a full season, which is great, really. But again, so that's my question: does he have the necessary, strengths to play a league campaign and Champions League, which I hope Lyon will compete in?
I think now that everybody's returned to fitness, there is an incredible amount of depth in this squad. Jallet has just signed an extension. You've got. I'd like to see probably another center back, but if Rose comes back from injury, they've got 4 center backs. They've got 2 left backs. They've got a great depth in midfield, great depth in attack with Fekir and Valbuena back. This team is now, given that the summer acquisitions are better than where they were 9 months ago. I'm thinking particularly of Yanga and Biwa and Darder. This team looks like it has the depth and strength to compete legitimately on 2 fronts, which I think it didn't perhaps at times earlier this season.
Yeah, and going back to the game and to the opponents in that one, Nice, although Cornier sending off clearly changed the game.
You were talking about Lindsay Rose.
I'm saying I think they need another center back, but Rose will come back. He's on
Oh, it's
loan.
alone, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But yeah, you can continue it with Nice, Philip.
Yeah.
They might rue not being able to get the 3 points from that game, even though Lyon did show some resolve in the last 20 minutes.
Yeah, they rested on their laurels. It's a real shame. I still believe that this side is quite fragile without Ben Arfa, but it's still a great side when they're playing together. I think Germain and Plea are some really quality players, and that Ben Arfa holds this unit together. There's also the fact that it's again this ongoing problem. Do we want Nice representing France in Europe? Because Pierre's contract is actually running out this summer, and l'équipe have just linked Jocelyn Gourvenec, the Guingamp manager, with the managerial post. So I'm not quite sure why Pierre would go, because he's going so well, and he is typically a manager to manage the underdog. He tried to manage Lyon, it did not work at all. So, yeah, I think it's going back to Friday's game. I think it's a bit of a shame, especially the second half performance. It wasn't that great. You could see it was the diamond shape 4-4-2 a bit transformed itself into 4-5-1, and you felt that Nice were just playing out the game, whereas Lyon were probably being down to 10 men were there for the taking. But Nice didn't do that, and that's it's a shame, because they could have taken second spot. But that's it's a missed opportunity. But I'll still really support them. Their brand of football is great. I think they have a terrific run in as well. It's a shame.
And just very quickly on Nice, from my perspective, I thought at times they were wonderful in this game. I mean, as we all know, Hatem Ben Arfa is a wonderful footballer, and that's a great bonus to have someone so he seems so comfortable at the club at the moment, which we haven't seen in a long time. And him performing at this level at a consistent basis is what we always thought he might be able to do. But having players like Valère Germain, who's so experienced and a great close quarters finisher that they really needed, having someone like Alassane Player, who played really well, I thought, in this game, and added a dimension. And I could see at moments he learned from Ben Arfa to take things to the opponents and go for a dribble and take on a player and make something happen. And Cagello as well is learning in that sense, that he's getting involved in the attacking movements. He's holding onto the ball well. He's creating opportunities for his team. I think there's a real positive future for Nice, even if Hatem Ben Arfa does leave in the summer, because it already seems like he's left an impression on those young players who are playing for that club and giving them that extra dimension they really had nothing and looked nothing of last season. But kudos to them. Hopefully Puel will stay on. I can't imagine him wanting to leave at this stage, but you never know in football. As shown earlier this week when it was confirmed, as we move on to Karim Benzema will not be going to the European Champions with Les Bleus this summer. It was done to keep squad morale solid, according to the French Football Association. But was this the right decision in the end, Philip?
The right decision, I don't know. The decision that most French fans wanted, probably. Was it the decision that Deschamps wanted? I would say yeah. Well, probably yeah. France did play better against Russia, against Holland, but they're not exactly world beaters. I would say that it's a correct decision to count down the fire, put a stamp on that fire, because otherwise every single one of his quotes and interviews were going to be scrutinized and analyzed, maybe a bit too much by the media. I think it's a correct decision. It's a great opportunity for someone like André Pierre Gignac, who's not playing in France, to actually compete in the Euros. Martial as well. He's got a key. It's a real key tournament for him. Hopefully, he doesn't get injured. And I think it's a correct decision.
Eric, what are your thoughts on this one? And who does it give an opportunity to?
I think I agree with Philip about the impact in terms of team harmony and propriety, and and what have you. But I think it gives Antoine Griezmann a chance to show the world that just how good he is. I still don't believe that he's talked about on the same level as MSN and some of these other players who or a Paul Pogba or somebody who are praised to the heavens and get all this notice. I still don't think that Antoine Griezmann, even with the double and the win over Barcelona last week, I still don't think he's being given enough credit as really being, certainly one of the top 10, if not one of the top 5 players in the world for me. And I think that this is really his chance to stand out and blossom and really turn a major tournament on its head and very potentially lead France to victory, seeing that he'll be likely given the starting role up top.
Yeah, I think you make a great point there. I mean, it gives us a great chance to a player like that who's played wonderfully for us.
Question: would you guys take Valbuena?
No.
No.
I feel bad for the guy. I mean, he's had the hard season, and I've been reading this article. Actually, he is at Lyon, and where Benzema was actually what's the word? Use product basically, the faithful is very much pro Benzema. And Valbuena did not have a great season at Lyon, but he's still one of Deschamps' key players, and his attitude is great, really. And I think it would be a real shame for him not to go, and I'm not quite sure why he shouldn't be going. I mean, it's not like he did anything wrong in all this. I know there's this whole thing about if you don't take one, you don't take the other, but still, I think, I don't know, I would take him.
Philip, it's his form. He's not starting for Lyon because he can't displace Rachid Ghazal from that right wing. I mean, maybe he gets to start in Cornet's absence at the weekend against Toulouse, but let's face it, this player is 31. This is almost certainly his last major international tournament, even if he were to go. Would you rather have him, or would you rather have Kingsley Coman, who's shown on a consistent level for one of Europe's best teams, what he can do, and looks to be your answer in that position for the next decade? I think the experience, not only the level of form for Valbuena, his age, the history with Benzema, okay, a little bit fine, but also the chance to give an opportunity to what is really looking like an incredible collection of attacking talent for France, and to continue to have Coman included in that. The other alternative there at right wing that I mentioned last week in my Les Bleus tracker is Hatem Ben Arfa, again, who is now there you go. If it's a straight choice between Ben Arfa or Valbuena, a veteran right-sided attacking player who's tricky and creative on the ball, but can also score the odd goal, now who do you pick?
Easy decision, isn't it? I think you're making that a very easy decision. I mean, thinking about it off the top of my head, other than the two Eric's already mentioned, I'd pick Nabil Fekir, even though he's been out for most of the season, over Valbuena on current form. And even no more unlikely pick, because of a relationship with Deschamps, I'd pick Nasri in current form over Valbuena. That's just quite how his season's really gone for him, unfortunately.
Ooh, Nasri back for France.
It would be a weird one, wouldn't it? It would never,
I wouldn't take him. I think he's better off announcing his retirement from international football, to be honest. But that's me. At least until Deschamps is manager, I just don't see it happening.
No, it's unlikely. But that's probably how unlikely it is for Valbuena to get in that squad at the moment. But
yeah.
The question,
I mean, if he has those amazing 4 games, I mean, it is possible, Not looking at this whole Benzema fiasco, but he's still a bloody good winger with the World Cup experience and all that, and to me he is a Deschamps player, a bit like Sissoko, Kabay, and this and the other. So I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen, obviously, but I don't think it's so improbable.
Very quickly, just on the end of this will be a question that a lot of people will be saying, because he is such a good forward, and because he's been so integral to France in the last couple of years, although his form for the actual national team hasn't been so great, can France still win the Euros without him, Philip?
I think they've got a better chance. actually,
Eric?
to win the
I
Euros.
agree. I think the fluidity and mobility of this team, with either a Martial or Griezmann up top, I think is going to be make them a lot more potent than it is with Benzema, especially given his patchy international form in the past.
Yeah, and I think that'll spring a surprise on a couple of people who are already thinking that France might be slightly weaker without him. But that's all we have for this week. My thanks to Eric and Philip, and to all of you listening at home this evening. We'll be here at the same time next week. A bientôt and goodbye.